Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thursday, May 4th. Coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, high atop the 18th fairway. Hope all is well. Don't forget, we are powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymoorehonda.com to get more to your door. And Endeavor Hospitality and the family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area. Great places like BB's Market, Beast Market and Cellar, Southern Stone. Tons and tons. Welcome aboard. On the program today, Matt Taylor, Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, Kristen Airy, working on getting AJ Moye on. Been talking to him, and we'll see if we can make that happen today rather than another day. But he recently landed a position with Valpo as an assistant, something he's been trying to do, get back into coaching and get back into Indiana for a while. So congratulations to him for that. And now you've got more coaches around that he's probably familiar with. You got Michael Lewis up at Ball State. So interestingly to see the guys from the former people from Indiana or IU that are coaching in various states of, or I should say various levels, not various states. That's true too. No pun intended. How's it going with you, John Boy?
You know, it's good. It's officially now Thurby down here in Louisville. There's a whole week of horse racing events that take place at the track at Churchill Downs the week leading up to Derby. Obviously, the other day I talked about 5-0 Tuesday. Yesterday was Champions Day. Today is Thurby. And then obviously tomorrow, Oaks, and Saturday, the actual Kentucky Derby. So lots of stuff going on down at Churchill Downs.
Absolutely. Let's see. The Evansville chapter of the Indiana Alumni Association has an golf outing coming up on May 15th at the Sultan's Run in Jasper. An incredible golf course. And it benefits their scholarship fund as well. So it's a win-win all the way around. You get to play a great course and benefit the IU Alumni Association of Evansville chapter, their scholarship fund. You can reach out to Kyle King for information if you're wanting to play in that. I need to get his email up. Here I did not. I thought I had that handy, and it slipped away from me. I'll pull that up here in just a second. It's a pretty simple one. I do remember that. But that's an incredible course that I have not played for a while, a long while, as a matter of fact. But, man, if you have a chance to play that, do it. And speaking of events, June 8th, keep that one in mind. And we'll be getting more information about this out soon. But the Never Lose Hoop golf outing, that's the one. Benefits kids with cancer, put on by the Hulls family. We are expecting a heavy IU presence this year. And there are going to be a lot of exciting things in this tournament, like a $10,000 shot at hole-in-one, a $5,000 shot at a hole-in-one, another $5,000 shot at a hole-in-one. All kinds of fun stuff. IU peeps out in it. that comes up June 8th. We'll have all that information here just in a day or so. Letting that one go. And as far as the one in Jasper, just reach out to KYW KING. That's KYW King at indiana.edu. Pretty simple. So if you live in the Jasper area or Evansville area or wherever that you would like to participate, do it. Great course. That's May 15th coming up. So if you want to jump in that one, please do so. Speaking of golf, it's just beautiful outside. The weather has just went and turned itself nice. I'm looking at nothing but big yellow balls in the forecast, which is always a good thing for today, for tomorrow, for Saturday. Oh, a little rain possibly late Saturday, Sunday and Monday, but 70s. And then that big 8-0 pops up, man. Boy, we were just freezing the other day. But that's kind of how it goes, right? Who's complaining?
That's right. It's finally May the 4th. You know, today's Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. But I'm crickets.
Yeah. Well, you don't see. I was like, wow, that's that's. Is that a real thing?
It is actually. Someone in the comments has mentioned something about it. Happy Star Wars Day.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. There you go. Yep, Philip. Absolutely, that's kind of funny. There you go. Look at that. Jennifer's got her team ready for the June 8th Never Lose Hoop outing. They had a team last year and they had a blast. And it was just fun. But it'll be even more fun this year. There's a lot of exciting stuff. Really, we're pumped about all the things that are going to be going on. So, lots of things also going on in the sports world. Nothing really involving recruiting, movements of note announced yet.
I did see there was a 2024 prospect was offered, a center.
Patrick Ngamba, 2024, he's 6'10" from Fairfax, Virginia, number 4 ranked player in Virginia, number 89 ranked player overall in his position, I believe. He's also teammates with IU focus Caleb Williams, who is a 4-star forward, and Deshaun Harris-Smith, which I would imagine is going to be hard to get away from Maryland, but we'll see. But yes, Indiana continuing on recruiting the high school ranks while attacking the portal. And that's what you have to do. The thing is, you can get great recruits, but it's keeping them. Boy, that's just what's aggravating. I cannot imagine being a college coach right now. I mean, holy moly. The grind of recruiting is horrible. It is just that, a grind. But usually you're kind of, once you land a kid, you're like, you take a breath, you're like, wow, all right, celebrate a little bit, we landed him. You can't. It is now ever more so a temporary situation because you have to re-recruit that dude, and maybe even harder, because if he's had a good year and now you've got other people offering, that may be harder than the actual recruiting of high school kids now, because you've got so many people going after these guys.
Yeah, and plus one, I feel like some of these transfer portal players, like you mentioned, once they realize how good they are and they're generating a lot more interest than they were when they were in high school, they
Once
may
they
feel
realize
like they
how
have their
thick
pick of the
they
litter.
think they are because they're getting this information, then I think that their heads get even bigger though, because they think that they're more than they are because of that attention.
Yeah, it's really such a very hard and fine line that you really you can't even define what the line is, because you're trying to keep players happy enough, the ones who aren't playing as much compared to the ones who are. The ones who aren't playing as much may decide they want to move downward a level to get more playing time. The ones who are doing exceptional can do one of two things. They can decide they want to go to what they think might be a better program, or they can decide they want to make that jump to the NBA, whether or not they're going to get drafted or not. So you're battling so many different things that are tugging and pulling these players. And it's cool for them to have all these options, but at the same time, it makes college basketball a lot more, I don't want to say confusing, but it makes it difficult on the coaches. Obviously, fans don't get to experience the players the way that they used to back whenever the transfer portal wasn't a thing. And so the game is entirely different. I know we talk about that all the time, but I mean, we are officially knee deep. You can almost even say neck deep into a new era of college basketball.
Oh, absolutely. It has changed forever. And you don't have to like it, but you do have to accept it. John, I did not notice, but we are color coordinated.
Yeah, and we're brand coordinated too. Both wearing
I
Adidas.
see that. Yes, Joe, I am coming down for Derby, expecting to do the show from the Downs on Oaks Day. See if we can stir up. The Derby is to Louisville what the Indianapolis 500 is to the Indy area.
100%.
And both of those events, while both international sporting events, both of them, the community is really, it's a big time for both communities because the world focuses on both of those places during those times. I mean, the Kentucky Derby is international because you've got horses in it that are from Japan.
Yep.
The Saudis that are involved in racing, it has become more than an international thing. The Indy 500 long has been an international with the drivers, the international drivers. These are world events. I mean, world level events, people. There's only so many of this level events. And we are so fortunate to have two of them within a 2-hour distance. I can't imagine anything like that.
Else.
I can't imagine anything like that else that I'm thinking of in the world, anywhere.
You may be able to help me out with this, Jim. I was talking with someone else about this. Apparently, the most traveled to base city of visitors for the Kentucky Derby is Bloomington, Indiana. Why do you think that is?
Most traveled to Bay City.
So like the home base of people who travel for the Kentucky Derby, the most traveled to city is Bloomington, or traveled to from city. How I'm sure I'm wording this very weirdly.
Oh, you're saying
the city with the most visitors
comes from
people
Bloomington.
Visiting comes from Bloomington, Indiana. Why would that be?
That's shocking. That's very shocking. Because how's Lexington not on that? Lexington, Kentucky.
It may have been including out-of-state cities only. I don't remember what we were looking at, but I think it may have just been out-of-state cities.
Oh, well, you've got a college town located an hour and a half away.
And they're already out of school at that point, which also makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, it makes no sense though.
It blew my mind too, because I was like, why Bloomington, Indiana? Because like other bigger cities were listed on that list as well, but Bloomington, Indiana was the top drawer for whatever reason.
That's amazing. That is very odd. Huh. So that's a bit of ironic information that I would have been shocked at if you'd have put that on the Jeopardy board and gave me 4 shots at it. I don't think I would have ever picked Bloomington.
I mean, either.
There are horse people around the Bloomington area, but not. I don't think that they are thoroughbred types. But who knows? Who knows? Hey, we've got to take a break. We've got lots more coming up on the program today. Matt Taylor's going to join us. Dylan Sinn, hoping to get AJ Moye on. Chris Denary. And you're here. Looking forward to it. Brought to you by BB's Market, your butcher baker, no matter where you live, with a full-size bakery, custom meats, in-house made products, and soon the Butcher's Cut. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the... I have creamer again. Life is good.
You're just drinking creamer?
Well, no, jackass. I have it in my coffee.
I just thought you said good creamer. I was like, why is he just drinking creamer?
No, I have creamer again.
Okay.
I didn't have any, and I've gotten to where I can't stand drinking coffee without creamer, without my flavored creamer. I'm spoiled.
Hey, you know what they say? Once you go black, you never go back.
By
the way, Chris Denary, I asked if he wanted to switch. He just said he wouldn't mind skipping today. He said it kind of works out for him. So
perfect. Well, we may have to work on getting somebody else in case.
Well, if you don't have AJ, just take Dylan Sinn an extra segment or something like that, because he'll be on at 9:30. You can just take him to 10:10 or something if he's able to.
Boy, Howie's always on it. I swear to God.
Let me see if I can find that
maybe it was just, maybe it was just Monroe County cities that was in that it was about. Oh my gosh, dude, you should be a comedy writer. Where did you see that?
Someone told me it, and so I didn't see where they got it from. And
wait
I'm
a
trying
minute.
to think of what to search.
So this is not a fact.
No, it wasn't just like hearsay. It was somebody I worked with at the station.
That makes it hearsay.
Yeah, but they also said it over the air, so I don't think they would have just bullcrapped that.
Well, who was it? Who said it? Nick?
It was Nick. Yeah.
Wonder where he saw that.
I should have asked him. I didn't even think to ask him where he saw it at. All right, 30 seconds. I guess Matt will probably pop in whenever he's ready, like he usually does. So.
Launched from a previous staple in Bloomington, the former Function Brewery, Metalworks Brewing Company is the culmination of a passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste with Dr. Hops' Brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. It is May 4th, Thursday. Jim Coyle with you. Hope you're having a great day because it looks pretty nice out there. Apparently it's Star Wars Day. I did not know that was a thing. May the 4th be with you. Pretty funny. Then tomorrow, man, May is, I've talked about May being such a busy month, and I didn't even know about the 4th being with you. But I did know about what comes after the 4th. What comes after the 4th, John?
The 5th, Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo. Then that's Oaks Day. Then Derby. Then you've got the IU Alumni Association event at in Jasper down at Sultan's Run on the 15th. There's something else that I know that I meant to put in here. But then you.
By the way, you mentioned the before we get off the Derby. This is the 50th anniversary of Secretariat's victories, 50 years ago.
It's amazing.
Anyways, continue.
A great time in racing. Then we've got Indianapolis, the 500, Carb Day, the race. Huber's is the 31st down in Southern Indiana for all you folks. That event taking place on the 31st. So a beyond busy month of May. And looking forward to it. Man, it's going to just be busy. This is supposed to be the off season, man. Not happening. It's not slowing down any. There was something I was going to talk about and I forgot. But you'll have to find out on that bit of information, John.
I know. You've tickled my interest to make sure that it's correct now. I've been trying to find confirmation on that. And I don't know where to look because the person that mentioned it yesterday didn't cite anything. So I mean, it very well could have been hearsay, but they said it over the air, so I assumed it wasn't.
John, I have no Google Alden.
Hey, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm using the old-fashioned Google machine and trying to confirm. See, but it's a very hard question to ask, as you heard whenever I was trying to mention what it was on the in the last segment. What would you call it? The most traveled from cities for the Kentucky Derby?
Yes, they did get a walk-on. Howie? And actually, there's been a walk-on that has not even been mentioned yet. I don't know if he's been officially part on, but there's a kid that's coming up from Montverde. Big kid too, but he's a walk-on. I'm not sure how much he actually played down there. And I'll be honest with you, I think it doesn't matter. But yeah. So yeah, Indiana adding a couple of walk-ons, which is always nice. You don't generally get much play out of those guys because that means you've made mistakes 13 down. But we've got the great Matt Taylor with us. Matt, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, good morning. What's going on?
It's the beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Ooh, how about that?
That was smooth. That was nice. Very smooth.
How's it going, brother?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I cannot complain. Things seem to be very, very happy around Colts Nation and Colts camp and Colts headquarters. A very nice draft. They get the guy that I thought that they were going to get, and he seems to be a hell of a guy. First of all, very, 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 very impressive so far. But just from the outside in, of course, that doesn't matter on the field, but it matters a lot in a lot of other ways, especially at the quarterback position. But man, he has sure shown a lot of maturity for a 20-year-old thus far.
No, that's it. I think that's the biggest thing. He's 20. It's crazy. He's 20. And, I mean, for lack of a better term, when you are a top 5 draft pick at the quarterback position, you're a CEO. now, right? I mean, you're one of the main focal fixtures within an NFL organization, and he won't even turn 21 until later on this month. So it's just crazy that he's drafted in this position after 13 games, and it's got a lot of certainly the learning curve is going to be there for him, but it's exciting considering all that he can do. And I think like we've said this entire time with his evaluation and his thin college resume, you have to kind of put everything into perspective and into context a little bit, right? With only 13 games and not having a great dynamic wide receiver core and set of skill players around him at Florida. You can kind of look at the completion percentage and say, oh, if you have, one more drop pass that goes down as a completion, or one more throwaway that was obviously statistically an incompletion, if you have one or two of those a game, all of a sudden you go from 53% to probably in the mid 60s, and that's obviously a respectable number in college football. Now, that being said, you can't absolve him. He's got to get better. He's got to continue to grow. And obviously, there's going to be some maturation that needs to happen for him going from college football to the NFL with blitz schemes and, just the elevated skill and play around him in the NFL. But there's nobody that can do physically what he can do. I mean, that's not hyperbole. Like he's just one of the most athletically gifted human beings that we've seen in a long, long time, now playing the quarterback position. So it's really fun and exciting to think about his potential in the NFL. And, this entire offseason, there's been three big questions. The first big question was, who's going to come in and be the head coach? Well, Shane Steichen's the answer to that one. Second question was, who's going to be the quarterback, or who are the Colts going to draft at quarterback? And we know Anthony Richardson is the answer to that one. Now the big $1 million question is, will Anthony Richardson play right away? Will he start week one? And I think the Colts obviously are very open to that, very receptive of that. I personally think that needs to happen, but you can't force it. You can't make it happen. You brought in free agency Gardner Minshew in here for a reason. He's got a lot of experience as a quarterback, a lot of starts, and in particular, a lot of familiarity with Shane Steichen and his offense with the Philadelphia Eagles. So he knows the offense and has familiarity with it and knows the terminology. I think the Colts will give Anthony Richardson every chance and every opportunity to earn that job of being the week one starting quarterback. It just comes down to reps. It comes down to reps and repetitions and experience and playing time and time on task. That really is the only way he's going to get better and going to grow. And we'll see how it kind of all shapes out. But I think it's exciting to think about Anthony Richardson in here now with the rookie minicamp this weekend. And we'll see how he progresses, with the rest of the OTAs, minicamp in June, obviously training camp in August, and preseason games. He just needs to play a ton of football, considering, again, only 13 starts at the college level.
Yeah, and there's been talk about how do you handle a guy like this? Do you throw him in there? Do you let him come along? We've seen Jim Irsay say he wants to get him in there as soon as possible, and but I'm assuming that will be determined by the level of play itself.
Right, no question. And I think, you go back and look. I looked it up the other day just because we were on this topic of conversation. If you go back the last 10 years in the NFL, so from 2013 to 2022, there have been 30 quarterbacks drafted in the first round. All right, of those 30, 10 of them started week one of their rookie season. So the record of those 10 quarterbacks in their first year on the job in the NFL, they were a combined, let me make sure I get this right. I think they were combined. Let me look it up real quick. Sorry about this. I want to make sure.
It's going to be an ugly number, probably.
It's going to be an ugly number. So those 10, record-wise, win-loss-wise, the record of those 10 quarterbacks that started right away in their first year in the NFL were a combined 46, 91, and 2. Only Mac Jones from the Patriots had a winning record in his first year as a starting quarterback. He was 10-7 in 2021. and the Patriots made the playoffs that year. Now, you might be thinking that I give you those numbers advocating that Anthony Richardson should not play right away. That's not the case at all. I'm just saying that I think with rookie quarterbacks, it's not just exclusively about the win-loss record. Now, obviously, the NFL is a bottom-line business. Winning is truly, at the end of the day, all that matters, right? And everybody knows NFL stands for not for long when you talk about these players and these coaches and these front office members and general managers. But I am saying that when you have a rookie quarterback, what happens? Rookie quarterbacks they get drafted by teams that need quarterbacks because they had bad years, right? They go to imperfect teams and they go to imperfect situations. So it's not exclusively all about winning and losing when you talk about a rookie quarterback. It's about acclimation. It's about time on task and getting better and growing and understand what you're seeing and being able to process things faster and be able to just get better over time. I think there's a lot to that, but at the end of the day, again, you can't force that if he's not ready to play. And you think that you're not going to have a chance to win with a rookie quarterback, then you can't do it. I think the Colts have to rely on Anthony Richardson's skill set to basically let him thrive early. And for him, obviously, that is his athleticism, his mobility. But you have to put him in a good situation to succeed. And you also have to go into every game, despite with a rookie quarterback, thinking we have a good chance to win. And if you don't think that or can't get to that mental state, then obviously you have to go with Gardner Minshew because of his experience in the NFL. But I'm telling you, the Colts want Anthony Richardson to start right away, but he has to go out and prove it. He has to go out and earn that right to be the week 1 starter.
Yeah, he's certainly shown, like I talked about earlier, with his maturity, his unbelievable maturity. That does not always equate to the things that you have to do at quarterback, like the new S2 eval test measures, all those different things, distraction analysis and decision making, and there's just all these different things, and that is probably something that you kind of have those capabilities, but you have to improve upon them in the NFL because it's faster, it's different, it's harder, and man, you're the guy that you've got 32-year-old 10-year veterans looking up at in the huddle. You've
right.
got to have your crap together.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, I mean, there's a ton of, like it or not, there's a ton of pressure. There's a ton of responsibility that comes with this because you're looking at the Colts roster, to your point, and I think you're so right on. You look at the roster with guys like Jonathan Taylor and Shaq Leonard and Kenny Moore II and Ryan Kelly and Braden Smith, Quentin Nelson, Michael Pittman. I mean, these guys are ready to go, right? There's only a short amount of window where you can get the most from your players in terms of prime skill set and ability, and also from a contract standpoint. And Anthony Richardson, I mean, make fun of me if you want, but I'm telling you that a turnaround can happen very quickly in the NFL, and it's been proven time in and time out. I mean, if you just go back to last year, 3 of the 6 teams that had new head coaches last year saw their win totals increase by 5 or more games. Okay, so it can happen. Like Doug Peterson, the Jaguars, they won 6 more games last year than they did the year before, and they won the division and they won a playoff game. So this roster obviously needed some tweaking and needed some changing in the offseason. We've already seen that. It's already, that process is already undergone. But I'm telling you, this cupboard is not completely bare. There's some guys that can play, and you got a new offensive coaching staff. You got a new head coach. You got a new quarterback. Obviously, a lot of things needed to change from last year, but it's not like you had to blow the whole stinking thing up. So this team, I think, can be able to surprise some people if Anthony Richardson can be as dynamic as we think that he can be in year number 1. But that being said, he's going to go through his growing pains. There's going to be some speed bumps and some problems along the way. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to be far from that. But I think there's enough playmakers on this team to keep this team competitive and in the mix, hopefully for most of the season next year, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I'm wondering if even without trying and indoctrinating a new quarterback, let's say that next year is not the year that the Colts want to have just yet because of the newness. But is that still not? It's not necessarily a bad thing for the Colts if they end up reaping more draft picks out of that season. And I know nobody can ever stand talking about a season potentially not being the season they want before it even gets here. But that's what we do. We talk about stupid things like that. But I can see where, man, in 24, the Colts could be just set up to really make a charge.
Well, I think, again, I'd say next year too. I mean, I really do. I mean, they're going to play, a third place schedule. If you look at their schedule on paper, which I know is foolish to do, considering everything I just said about how teams are.
Everything we do is foolish, Matt.
But that being said, they're not going to play a first place schedule, right? They're not going to play all of the teams that finished first in their respective divisions next year. But listen, they're still in the NFL. They've got an NFL type schedule. The AFC is just locked and loaded, as we've discussed time in and time out, with all of these quarterbacks and the parity on this side of the ledger in the AFC conference. But I still think Anthony Richardson and a new offense, and I think it's going to be Jalen Hurts 2.0 with Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson. I think the Colts, we joked during the draft, the Colts are now like they're the Indianapolis Eagles in terms of offense because of what Anthony Richardson can do and sort of mirror in what the Eagles did last year en route to the Super Bowl with a quarterback like Jalen Hurts that has a similar skill set with their offensive coordinator in Shane Steichen, who's now the head coach here in Indianapolis. So from that standpoint, it's exciting. There's some potential there. But again, there's going to be some problems along the way with a rookie quarterback, even the most polished rookie quarterbacks that started 4 years and played 40-plus games at the college level, a major Power 5 football. They come in with speed bumps. So you're talking about a guy that's only played basically 1 year as a starter, 13 games, one bowl game, a couple of different head coaches, a couple of different offensive coordinators. It's going to take some time for him, but I think the potential is there. And Chris Ballard said over the weekend, I wanted to draft the guy that gave me the best chance to hit a grand slam, and I didn't want anybody else to get that plate appearance from me. That's why I drafted him, and it's exciting, but now it's all about developing, and Shane Steichen and Jim Bob Cooter, the offensive coordinator, and Cam Turner, the quarterback's coach, now they got to go to work. Now they have to continue to mold this guy into what they want him to be, what he can be next year as a rookie.
It looks like the marriage of Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson was perfect timing for the Colts too. Just everything just really came together for this marriage. Plus, we get to say Jim Bob Cooter all next year. I mean, that's stop me. Pinch me. I'm dreaming right there. That's enough.
Yeah.
How about the moves that the Titans are making? I mean, they are being aggressive. They have a good veteran quarterback, and man, they're ready to make moves, trying to get Hendon Hooker or whatever. I was a little surprised that they were making those the way they did, but they're certainly not looking to sit still, are they?
No, but they're also, I think, hitting the reset button a little bit. I mean, as you said, they drafted a quarterback last year, and they picked him up in the third round, the quarterback out of Liberty, Willis, and for whatever reason, they think it's time to go in a different direction and invest a lot of high draft capital on another quarterback, despite doing that last year. Not sure what the future holds there with Ryan Tannehill long-term beyond this upcoming season. So they swung big, traded up big time in the second round and drafted Will Levis. And I think the Colts were high on him as well. He's got a lot of potential, and we'll see what his future is in the AFC South. It's exciting to see that potentially here now going forward, you're going to have a ton of young quarterback talent in this division to, hype up some of these rivalries and make some of these games really compelling and competitive really for the next decade if all goes well with these franchises with the Colts and Richardson and C.J. Stroud in Houston. I mean, I think he's going to be their day one starter, for the Houston Texans. You got Trevor Lawrence in year number 3 upcoming, and obviously they have found some stability winning the division last year. Doug Peterson coming in and able to kind of level off that chaos that was the Urban Meyer experience. And then Will Levis in Tennessee. So the AFC South with a big-time shakeup, but I think at least for the foreseeable future, or maybe better said, the immediate future next year in 2023 in Tennessee, I think they might be one of those teams that's recalibrating, right? They got a new GM, maybe seeing things a little bit differently. What is the future of Derrick Henry? Can they continue to just pound him, 300 carries a season and continue to rely on him? Obviously their passing game is a little bit different. The receiving core is a little bit depleted, not nearly as dynamic as it was a couple of years ago when they had, A.J. Brown. So I think the Tennessee Titans, at least on paper, are a little bit of the team that's resetting and recalibrating in the AFC South. Colts are on the up and up. I think Houston's roster is very deceiving. I think they're going to be deceptively good next year, or a little bit more competitive than most people think. And then obviously the Jacksonville Jaguars are the team to beat in the South. I think they have the best overall roster. They've got Calvin Ridley coming in there after his suspension to play wide receiver. So that offense is just going to get more dynamic. Trevor Lawrence has another year under his belt. It's crazy to think that Lawrence he's now the vet. He's the old guy going into year number 3, which again makes the AFC South very compelling for a long time now, with all these young gunslingers that aren't going anywhere, hopefully for a long, long time.
Absolutely. It should be exciting. Looking forward to it. What do you got playing on this weekend, brother? You going to watch the Derby?
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I got to host a Colts thing on Saturday, a little bit of a function downtown at the stadium. So be doing that. And then
what's going on down there?
Little season ticket holder party at the stadium. So be a part of that. That should be fun at Lucas Oil. But yeah, kind of trying to map out getting some time off before the season, man. It's crazy how, this, you have to be strategic on when you're taking time off and when you're gone and how long you're gone for. So
what is this time off you speak of?
I know, right? So kind of enjoy May, June, and July before we start hitting the ground running in training camp. It'll be here before you know it. It's always the case.
Man, I was just talking about, I was like looking at May. I'm like, I just laughed out loud. I'm like, let's see, we've got the Derby. There's these events, this event. You've got Indy. You got the Derby and Indy, bookending, and a whole bunch of stuff in between. Mm-hmm. It's a busy month, but looking forward to it being a beautiful month and getting to talk to you about it.
Yes, sir. I can't believe it's May, but the draft is over, and now it's all about getting some answers and getting, that was the hardest part, 4.5 months of speculation. Now we've got answers, so that part's fun, and kind of putting it together and building out what this roster looks like in terms of the depth chart. And so from that standpoint, it's fun, and just really looking forward to getting ready for the summer and enjoying some time off here.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow everything they do at Colts Nation and at Colts.com with Matt Taylor and everything that they put out, because it's constant, great content. Thanks, my friend.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You as well. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. It is Thursday and a beautiful May 4th. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Whether
I'm gonna try to call AJ.
We've only got about a minute or a minute and a half till we come back.
All right. When's Dylan on?
9:30, 10 minutes from now.
Okay, so do I need to take a quick break?
This will be a short segment here, and then we'll break at 9:30.
Dun 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 dun. You know, Indiana is adding a lot of guys in football.
They are.
Oh.
All right, here we go.
Cook Up. The Fresh Fork takes care of all the planning, shopping, and prepping and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday. It's May 4th. Thanks a lot for joining us as always. Appreciate you. Derby week. Michael asking, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And same to you and everybody else in the ISB radio chat mob, I guess you'd call them, for chat bombers.
I believe they call themselves Coyle's Crazies. Don't they do that?
That is not for me to say. But I'll wait till Friday for my Derby pick. Not that anyone is waiting on biting their nails, waiting to hear that, but we'll see. Other news.
Two Phils. That's who I'm going with.
Well, you know my pick.
And with that, I'll show myself.
Around the college sports world, the Pac-12 and ESPN are still negotiating terms on a tier 1 media rights deal, according to the Athletics' Nicole Auerbach yesterday. The Pac-12 and Commissioner George Klavikoff have been negotiating with various media companies for rights to broadcast the league's games for months. We've heard different things coming out of streaming and this and that, but that is expected to be a significant component of the league's next media rights contract, with Apple and Amazon both being rumored to be involved in those negotiations. However, ESPN's involvement has been difficult to pin until yesterday. The sports broadcast giant is still in need of content for the late window on Saturdays now that ESPN will no longer be broadcasting Big Ten games starting this year. ESPN's involvement in the negotiations could provide the Pac-12 with more distribution and greater revenue shares among the conference members, potentially help get the Pac-12 rival or surpass the contract the Big 12 received months ago with Fox and ESPN that was worth about $2.3 billion. Billion. Also, today is the day. It's Hunter Dickinson Day. It was going to be yesterday, but today is apparently decision day as the number 1 ranked player in the transfer portal expected to announce his destination. Former Michigan Wolverine is deciding between Kansas, Kentucky, Villanova, Georgetown, and Maryland. Last night, he posted on Twitter that he would not return to Michigan with a lengthy message expressing his gratitude, blah, blah, blah. You know, all those things they put up.
He's a consensus All-American, 3-time All-Big Ten selection. Dickinson averaged 18.5 points, 9 rebounds a game last season. Pretty good. Somebody's getting – I mean, this is the college basketball's answer to the draft lottery, in essence. He's a lottery pick in college basketball. This is a lottery pick, man. Alec Bussey from thehoosier.com predicts he commits to Kansas. And the Jayhawks will become one of the country's favorites to win the national championship along with Duke. But man, yeah, Kansas lands him. Well, who is it? If Kansas lands him, if Kentucky lands him, how are you not a favorite? That seems like automatic to me. The Indiana men's golf team going to the Auburn Regional for NCAA tournament. They've been having a good year. We are thrilled to be back in the NCAA Regional for a third straight season, Mike Mayer said. Feel really good about where they are as a team. And they've been having a good year. Indiana's the number 11 seed in that regional, with the regionals being held May 15th and 17th next week at one of the 6 sites across the country. So a lot going on there. And then also there is the Big 12 that announced they're hoping to finalize paperwork that will lead the conference to playing football and basketball games in Mexico in 2024. New Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark has made it a point to expand the Big 12's brand power since his hiring, and he has been inspired by the successful professional sports leagues that have done that. I mean, I guess it work if they enjoy the sports, but I don't know that there's a huge market for college. But hey, you've got to be creative and think outside the box, and he's obviously doing that. The conference hopes to play football games in Monterrey and Mexico City as a target for men's basketball games. Monterrey is a beautiful place. Mexico City is not. Been to both. In the future, the conference would like to bring non-revenue sports like women's basketball, women's soccer, and baseball to Mexico. That, I can see that being very popular. The hope is to bring top-ranked matchups to Mexico in a conference game between Houston and Kansas. Has been rumored to be one of the circled matchups for men's basketball in Mexico. So, are they trying to expand their fan base into Mexico? It's just that one I don't get. Maybe. In good news for Indiana as well, 11 of Indiana's 22 sports programs earned a perfect APR score for the 21-22 academic year. The APR is the NCAA's measurement of academic progress. Men's basketball, women's cross country, men's golf, rowing, soccer, women's softball, women's swim and dive, men's and women's tennis, women's track and field and volleyball. So congratulations to those programs for being smart.
Great.
We've got to take a quick break. When we come back, Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette will join us. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the... Well, that was a nice little newsworthy segment.
It was. Good morning, Dylan.
Morning. How are you guys?
Could you kind of clean off your camera a little bit? It's a little blurry looking.
Yeah, I was trying. Better? No.
It may not be. Maybe it's just an older camera. It's fine. I just didn't know if you could or not. Actually, that looks worse.
Yeah.
There we go. That's fine.
Man, is it chilly up there?
Not really. I have a very old laptop.
No, I meant you got the hoodie on, man. I had a pullover on and I had to take it off. I was like, daggone it.
No, it's a little bit colder. It's a little bit colder in my house. I have an older house, so it gets drafty in here, but it's getting warmer outside. It'll be nicer this afternoon.
That it will be.
How are you guys?
Lovely. Peachy.
Yeah, peachy's a good word.
Peachy.
Oh. What have you guys been talking about today?
Kind of been all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay.
Talked
yes.
some Colts stuff with Matt Taylor earlier.
Oh, I haven't talked about this yet. How about this? Ohio gambling regulators have instructed all state licensed gambling sports books to not take any bets on Alabama baseball.
Why are they point shaving or something?
Because of suspicious activity versus LSU in a game last week.
Wow.
But there is FanDuel also is done the same. Where is the name of this stake? US Integrity is, man, these people are watching everything nonstop, betting trends to how you catch this. It's crazy. I guess not really, because this came down to two bets that someone placed in Cincinnati on. One was both very large on this game. One was a straight up win and the other involved a parlay.
All right, here we go, guys.
Rogers. It's one of the most popular gathering spots in Bloomington. Whether you're out on a date with your spouse, friends, or coworkers, Feast Market and Cellar offers an extensive wine selection with a sommelier on staff to help you with your selections. Feast also provides a wide variety of cheeses, gourmet sandwiches, entrees, a coffee bar, bread, pastries, all made fresh and mouthwatering. Stop by Feast Market and Cellar today.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here. It's May 4th. Jim Coyle with you as always from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Joined now by our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Dylan, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Jim. I'm good. Thank you for having me on. It's always nice to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you, man. I saw something wild yesterday. Ohio gambling regulators have instructed all state licensed sports books to halt betting on Alabama baseball, and FanDuel has done the same. This was after suspicious activity involving a game between Alabama and LSU, not on the field per se yet, but there were two bets placed in Cincinnati, very, very large bets. That one was on Alabama to win straight up. The other one was a parlay. I think they ended up losing that game, though. They were down large, came back, but still lost. But the fact that there's kind of a regulatory group, US Integrity, who monitors, I guess, all betting in the United States. Can you imagine? That seems like an impossibility to manage. And the fact, if they can do this, then maybe they should be working in the government.
Yeah,
but yeah, catching a game, that's that. But first, that's wild, just in the story in and of itself.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, and we don't even know that there was any wrongdoing that was planned, or that was that there will be found. Like, the thing is that the way they do this is that they flag this stuff. Hopefully, in the goal is to flag it in advance so that it happens before these games start. You get people who place bets their money back, so it's not like the people who happen to bet on this game that were not involved in anything are not unfairly losing their money. And so, yeah, it's a very weird situation because these guys have to track basically everything, and apparently they do a very good job of it. It's as you said, that it is an enormous task to follow up on kind of the entire world of gambling across all these different sports now. But that's kind of the world that exists because all these states have legalized gambling, and so you kind of have to make sure that across the country everything is above board because it can go sideways pretty easily.
Yeah, and we'll see how what ends up with that. But now that one's not too hard to shake out when you got two big old bets. Plus, how many people are making large bets on college baseball?
Right, especially in Ohio for a game between Florida and LSU, right?
Alabama and LSU.
Or Alabama and LSU. I apologize. Yeah, that doesn't seem to be the norm. I assume that. No, I'm not saying that there's no one that could be doing that, but it seems like there are not many that will be doing it. So getting to the bottom of it wouldn't involve interviewing too many people.
Well, but that brings up for me the next big question. Gambling has been relaxed in a lot of ways, not in both in professional and college sports. There is betting now allowed in Indiana, obviously. Kentucky, it's been approved there as well, and many other places. But man, you would think that with all the student athletes, it's going to be hard for that not to happen at some point. Someone trying to reach out to kids to affect games. It just seems like they've worked so hard for so long to keep gambling out. And now it's like the dam has broken with everything and everything is coming in. Every transfer portal, paying players, gambling. Let's just let it all hang out, baby. But it's like the dam is broke and everything is just rushing in. It's a free-for-all. It's a jailbreak.
Well, especially with gambling, because as soon as it became legal in a lot of these states, a lot of the professional leagues and some of these colleges realized that it was a way to make a little extra money, right? So like you went from basically we don't want to have anything to do with it to it's a huge part of the sport now, especially in some of these professional leagues where like so much of the broadcast, and you see this if you watch any of I can't remember which league is playing right now. I should probably know this. The football league, is it the XFL or the USFL that's playing right now? The
USFL, I believe, is playing right now.
Yeah, like if you watch one of those games, so much of it is about gambling. Like the broadcast talks about gambling.
Well, yeah, but they need it because
they do,
and nobody cares if they cheat. Are those?
But that's the thing is people are going to care about it if they're gambling on it, though, right? Like that's. And so they realize
cheating might be encouraged in that league.
Maybe get a few more headlines for them, But no, I mean, like that is a way for these leagues to make extra money. They realize that, and so they're working it into the broadcast more and more. And you see some of these shows on TV now that are just entirely gambling focused, and it's like it went from you're not going to have anything to do with it to it's an enormous part of sports almost overnight. Like it was within a year or two that we went from nothing to it's all over the place with betting lines, with parlays, with odds, with I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. The Bad Beats segment that Scott Van Pelt has on SportsCenter is one of my favorite segments.
How can it not be?
Great. It's so fantastic to watch. It's so much fun.
Well, the way they do it it's awesome. It's like it's a story every time. And every time they bring one up, it's going to be like, you're kidding me. There's no way that happened.
Exactly. It's absolutely terrific. It's absolutely something that would not have happened and not have been on ESPN or on SportsCenter as recently as like 5 years ago, right? Like it's just not something they would have entertained. And okay, so there we go. That helps. Both leagues are playing right now. But yeah, it's a different world, and it's not necessarily worse. It's just different. And it's something that I think people are still getting adjusted to.
Absolutely. And just a quick programming note, AJ Moye joining us next. He will be with us today, so just letting you know that. And you can hang out, Dylan, if you want. But so they'll have to get past that. But I don't know. These guys, the money is coming from so many different ways right now. It's just going to be one of those things you have to keep monitored, I guess. But
yeah,
and that's another thing. Gee whiz. We just talked about how the difficulty of gambling. Then now you want to talk about college. Well, there's all kinds of, there's still things that are illegal to do that you're not supposed to do, not allowed to do, that have to be kept up with, monitored. And we're asking the NCAA to do that. Please. Yeah. The NCAA, the first thing the NCAA should do is hire U.S. Integrity.
Yeah.
To monitor everything the NCAA monitors. Yeah. Because the NCAA is not capable, and obviously U.S. Integrity is.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with the NCAA is that their enforcement arm has been weakening for years. They've taken some big swings and missed over the years. Like that was the thing. Like they swung at North Carolina, and North Carolina didn't really get a whole lot of punishment for that, right? Despite some significant wrongdoing. They were having classes that were not on the up and up, right? It was the same thing with Miami in 2010, where they took a big swing at Miami, and there wasn't really a ton of punishment for that. There was some, but there wasn't a ton, right? And so the problem for NCAA enforcement now is that schools are not cooperating, right? And that's the thing is it was always some schools would cooperate, and they would kind of help them build a case. Then you'd get a penalty and you'd move on. And schools have realized, well, if we just don't tell them anything, they can't hurt us. And so that Indiana knows
does North Carolina come to mind?
Yeah, exactly, right. And Indiana learned that lesson. Notre Dame learned that lesson in the issue that they had, and that was resolved in 2018 with vacating their undefeated season in 2012. People have learned, don't cooperate, and it's made the NCAA enforcement's lives more difficult. And now with NIL, there's such a fine line between what is an inducement, which is technically illegal, and you're not allowed to induce someone with a payment to pay, or what is just, we have a deal for you once you get to the school, right? And there's a very fine line there, and it's really hard for the NCAA to monitor that line. I mean, the guy at Miami who, when Purdue was recruiting, for example, Nigel Pack last year, he came out and said, we've offered him 2 years for $400,000 a year. And basically, as soon as he got there, the deal was ready to go, right? Like you can say, well, the deal wasn't ready until he got there. Well, it kind of seems like, it looks bad, right? And it's hard for the NCAA to monitor that because it's such a fine line, and their enforcement mechanism is just not as strong as it used to be.
Plus, we saw what he did to Miami immediately with Isaiah Wong saying, hold up, where's mine? Right. Where's mine? So, yeah, that's an issue. But I also have a problem with the lack of transparency at some points. It's something they're still navigating. But here's Robert asked, what about Hunter Dickinson wanting a guaranteed NIL deal before signing with a new school, which kind of goes against what you're saying, what you just suggested, because of what the rules are, but yet the outside stuff is not. Anybody that's not with the school can do that, but the coaches cannot tell them, here's your deal we have for you. They can't lay a deal out in front of them. They can tell them the kind of money that they can make. They can tell them, here's some players. You can talk to these guys, talk to them about what they made. And basically, you're back channeling is all you're doing.
Right.
You're getting the information to them through somebody else.
Right, and that's it's a workaround, and again, it's a very fine line, and I'm sure there are people who are on the wrong side of the line, right? There are always schools that are on the wrong side of the line in NCAA rules, because NCAA rules are complicated and they're difficult to follow, even if people are trying to follow them, which not everyone always is. And it's just difficult. And so the NCAA is scrambling now because they have this. Basically, what happened with NIL was the NCAA enforcement was already struggling, and now it has this entire new set of rules to monitor that is kind of the vanguard of how you're getting these kids, and it's the vanguard of how you're getting these kids on campus and getting them into your program now. And it's this entire new set of rules for the NCAA to monitor, and they're still not sure how to go about it. It seems we're about a year and a half into NIL, almost 2 years now, and they're still kind of struggling to figure out, how do we enforce this? Do we even want to enforce this? Because if we do, are we going to get sued for antitrust violations? Because that's another concern. And it's a weird situation for the NCAA to be in right now.
Yes, and then you have schools that are trying to do it the right way, but yet trying to stay competitive.
Yes.
And then there are probably schools that are really skirting the line, and I'm not talking about any particular school. I'm sure there are many that are skirting the line. There are probably many that are big-time programs, but there's probably a lot that are not big-time programs that are really wanting to be, that may have, who knows how many John Ruizes there are out there. There are more than him. You got Mattress Mac and the guys, all over the place. So it's going to be interesting. And then the Hunter Dickinson deal, how that ends up can impact Indiana greatly. If he ends up in Kansas, that's an Indiana opponent for next year, and I cannot imagine how strong that would make the Jayhawks.
Right, like that's. I mean, what we're seeing right now is essentially a version of and you talk about NIL is free agency and this and that. Basically, what we're seeing is the pursuit of a high-profile free agent with Hunter Dickinson. Right, that's what it is.
It's a lot. I said earlier, he's in essence a lottery pick.
He is, right?
College basketball lottery pick.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing with him, is that he has gone out of his way to make sure that no one knows where he's leaning or what he's thinking, or kind of which schools he is really considering. He's gone out of his way to kind of keep people in the dark, which adds a different element to it. I think that's kind of frustrated some of the national reporters who normally know where this stuff is going. But that adds a different element to it, right? As well. So it's the problem is that, I guess it's not really a problem for college sports, because people are interested in college sports right now in a way they're not usually in May. Right. IU fans are following closely what IU is doing in the transfer portal, because that's going to significantly affect how they do next season. Right now, in 10 years ago, how many people would be thinking about IU basketball in May? Probably not a whole lot, right?
The fans were.
Well, the
IU fans are.
They'd be thinking about it, but not to the extent.
But
now,
right?
There's
been
just
created.
not.
But this has been created and cultivated by the media, by the players, by the leagues, by the shoe companies, by the schools. It's been a group effort to make this what it is.
Yeah, and it's not the worst thing. It's just for the sport to have interest throughout the year. That's what the NFL has done, is they've made it so that there is interest throughout the year and people buzz about it the entire year. And that's not the worst thing for the sport. It's just different. And so people are still adjusting to kind of the realities of how different it is. And it's kind of shell shock for some people, because it's like, this was supposed to be the off season, and right now it feels like we're learning how good teams are going to be next year.
Yeah, the portal has made college sports a completely year-round sport. You're right. These guys are playing one sport, so you're only looking at them in that deal. But now when the season's over, then you have the portal, the draft, the portal. Then you have all these new teams that you have to figure out, all these new rosters and all the different conferences and who's where now. and it's a complete shakeup. And it's a complete shakeup of the rankings, so to speak, who's going to be good, which is a joke to think. I mean, yeah, I'm sure you could, the top teams you can look at just because of the talent. But I've talked about the Big Ten. That's kind of shaken out. Michigan State, a team that is going to be strong, obviously. Purdue, most of their guys, all their guys back, added a couple of pieces. Obviously, they're going to be strong. Maryland seems to be strong. Indiana, I think that if they get, I think his first name's Jordan, right? Dingle. If they get him, he's a perfect piece for what they need and what they don't have. They still need a wing if they don't get that production from their current roster, and they have a spot for that. And if they were able to fill that, well, I don't know what else you would have asked for. They will have every single piece that they need to be competitive. That is, they will have upgraded with athletic, skilled players as a group, as a team. I think Indiana, if they're able to fill these two spots with two guys, these two guys are two guys very, very similar. Indiana is going to be a better team next season than they were this season. They were good, but they weren't a good team this year. It was basically Jalen Hood-Schifino and Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, that's it. Which is fine, but as you've seen, if we watch the NCAA tournament, you have to have 4 or 5 guys contributing. You have to get it from everywhere, and Indiana just did not even come close to that on the floor with their starting 5, much less in the bench. They weren't even getting it from their starting 5, so man, you're already in trouble. Yeah. But I think that this new roster is different. I've talked about the front court players. They all have experience. Khalil Ware is the least experienced probably of them all. That's not even really true. I mean, I don't know if he played as much as Malik played last year, but probably close to it.
It was generally the same. Yeah. I think
so they've got some very experienced guys down there.
Right. Ware started some more games than Renew did, but generally they played about the same number of minutes. That's kind of what I've been saying for most of the offseason is that the interesting part of this for fans, and as someone who follows this for basically my job, is that you are learning in real time how good Indiana is going to be next year. You're taking kind of the people like to follow recruiting, but it's usually a years long process. You get a guy in for a visit, you talk to him at camps, you talk to him at AAU games, you get him in for an official visit, that kind of thing. And now we're condensing that all into like a month or two, and it's kind of like we are learning in real time how good this team is going to be next year, and that's just not the way it usually works. And it's exciting, and it's probably terrifying for some fans, but it's extremely exciting because you can turn over a roster even faster than you used to be able to.
Kenneth asked, why not say IU was good? I'm not saying that they weren't good, but they were not a team that was a threat to go far in the NCAA tournament. Simply because they had 2 great players, but that you need more than that. They just didn't have everything they needed. That's it. I mean, they had some great players and they were good, but they weren't good enough.
And to be clear, part of that was Xavier Johnson getting hurt, right? Like Race Thompson getting hurt. He was not quite the same after he got hurt, at least athletically. And Xavier Johnson getting hurt, that's a huge piece, right? The whole point of the way they set up the roster last year was that it was Xavier Johnson and Jalen Hood-Schifino will be running pick and rolls next to one another, right? And you can have both of those options available. And they didn't have that. And Jalen Hood-Schifino stepped up in a major way, and that's why he's leaving. That's why he's going to be a borderline lottery pick, is because he picked up a lot of that slack by himself. But having losing a great player like Xavier Johnson is going to hurt you no matter what. And that is the third. I was convinced for most of the year that they were missing that third piece. And I think the third piece on a lot of nights could have been Xavier Johnson. Now, obviously, he's not a super duper consistent player. He's a guy who's going to have great games and some games where he struggles a little bit. But on those nights where he had great games, he could have carried you to some wins that you might not have gotten otherwise.
Absolutely. And Indiana's going to be a very, very different team offensively next year.
Absolutely. They're not going
is right.
Right. It's going to be interesting because they've played through the post for 4 years in a row now that Trace has been there. And they kind of did the year prior to that as well with Juwan Morgan. And I guess Romeo Langford was kind of the number one option that year, but Juwan Morgan was still the guy for a lot of that. And so they've played through the post for quite a while here, and they are not going to do that next year. Kalel Ware is a center, but he is not a back to the basket, get the ball and make a move and get to your left shoulder and shoot a hook shot. That's not Kalel Ware's game. So they're going to be much more of a perimeter oriented team this year, and that's what's a little concerning for me. Is that they don't have a ton of shooting for a perimeter oriented game, and so that's what these next two. They have these two spots left available, and they need to use them on some shooting. And I think you're right. Jordan Dingle would be a good option. The kid that decommitted from Duke and has a visit scheduled to IU is one of the best pure shooters in his recruiting class. He would really help. Obviously, he's a 5-star recruit. He would help regardless. But yeah, they need to use these last two spots on shooting because the game is going to be much more perimeter oriented. You're not going to have a guy in the post who is going to be drawing double teams and getting you open shots all the time. You're going to need to be able to create them yourself and make them when you have the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I think that Indiana is going to be they're going to be too good to call them a sleeper, but I think that they're going to be sitting, I mentioned Michigan State, Purdue, Maryland, which it's first of all, let me be the first person to say it is beyond dumb to make any prediction, especially right now.
Yeah.
But we've got nothing else to do, so we're going to do that. So why not? But it's also based on pretty solid information. Michigan State's looking pretty damn good. They got a lot of good pieces. They got good pieces back, good pieces coming in, new pieces, good recruits like Xavier Booker from Cathedral, and you got Tom Izzo. Maryland, man, Kevin Willard has been building over there the same way with recruits. Rick Pitino, protege. Purdue, they're going to be a tough because you've got Zach Edey. I mean, there's just no way around that. Until Mount Edey is gone, he's going to be a problem. Now, what I'm wondering about Purdue, what happens to Purdue the season after next when Edey's gone?
Right. So here's the thing, and to be clear, we don't know that Edey is going to be back next year. He has not made that decision
he's
yet.
Back. I guarantee he's going
okay, but I think the thing with Michigan State, with Purdue, and with Maryland especially, those three teams, the rosters are basically complete, right? You can see the full picture with them. It's easier to predict how good they're going to be, and it seems all three of them are going to be pretty good. Maryland went out and picked up Jordan Geronimo. So that's a piece that they have now that we'll probably see at IU face next year. But yeah, those teams are pretty set, and so it's easier to make predictions on them. Indiana, we still have those last two pieces are, as you said, one of the keys to the roster this year, because there are holes in the roster, but there are scholarships to fill those holes. And so if IU can get quality players to fill those holes, then now you're talking about a team that has a chance to contend for a Big Ten title again, right? And so that's the open question right now. And again, it's scary and it's exciting at the same time that we're learning in real time how good Indiana is going to be.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick break before John cuts my head off. We've got lots more coming up. AJ Moye is going to join us later as well, talking college hoops at the moment. Dylan Sinn from Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
You're welcome to stay through with AJ if you want, or you can, if you You got to go. You can.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do have to go this morning, Jim. I'm sorry.
That's not a problem. I would just because he's with Valpo. I know that probably part of your coverage area.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, and tell AJ I said hi. Okay.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, Jim. I will talk to you later. All right.
Thanks, buddy. Sorry we didn't give you a send off on that segment, but I'll do it when we come back.
That's okay. I appreciate it. Have a great one. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
I didn't see that. That's the only bad thing is sometimes I hear those text messages and I don't because I got these in.
Okay.
But and yes, I should see when you pop in, but that conversation was just going, man. That was rolling. Rawhide. Man, do you know what time I have to get up tomorrow morning?
Probably too early.
Dawn at the Downs. I'm going to try to, if I can get, find somebody to record anything, I'll record it and just post it on ISB. I can always just post that on the deal later. Oh, how good a job is damn it. That's what I wanted to talk to him about. Micah Shrewsbury. Crap.
Will you make sure? Actually, hold on. I may have AJ's number. Let me see if I do.
I do have say it.
I do have it.
Let's see. Is the last number a 6?
Yes.
All right.
All right, 20 seconds.
Local and organic food is their main focus. Southern Stone strives to always provide their guests with an exceptional dining experience. With weekly specials, quick, attentive service, Southern Stone Restaurant provides delicious 5-star comfort food with a Southern charm at 2-star prices. Southern Stone Restaurant is part of Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Thursday. Happy May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Happy Star Wars Day. That's crazy. I think I've seen one Star Wars movie, and it was Star Wars. I don't think I saw another Star Wars movie. Just that was not my kind of a deal, I guess.
It's not really my thing either. I saw The Force Awakens a few years ago. I believe that's the only one I've seen all the way through, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, sci-fi films has just not been my bag. Not that there's anything wrong with that, just not me. Let's see. Looking forward to talking to AJ Moye today. How about what Micah Shrewsbury is doing up at Notre Dame? He is landing some guys. As a matter of fact, he has the current Indiana Mr. Basketball. That doesn't happen very often. Jennifer's a nerd. Andrew asking what time will I have my first mid-jump tomorrow? Ooh. Shoo. It won't be early. Although, and I've mentioned this before, a little bit of useless knowledge. The mint julep started as a breakfast drink of some sort. I don't know why in the world you would be drinking that for breakfast if you've ever had one. It does not taste very breakfasty to me, but it will certainly wake you up. Maybe that's what it was. Who knows? Fred has not seen any Star Wars movies. Jennifer loves Star Wars. She's a nerd like that. Mike says give him Star Trek over Star Wars anytime. Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. The battle of the... Why did they never have a battle royale with Star Wars and Star Trek? For all you Trekkies and whatever you call Star Wars people. Kenneth loves Star Wars. Let's see. Yes, the first one did. So there's that. Man, I don't know how we... Andrew thinks a mint julep is awful. You're not alone. A lot of people think that. It's certainly an acquired taste. And if you're not ready for it, it's different. Mike says Lucas said Star Trek inspired him to write Star Wars, but we're all over the place today. Jamie says AJ was at the Elon game this year. He was very accommodating to all the fans, took time to answer questions from his 14-year-old son. Great dude. Absolutely. He's always been a great friend of the show. Very happy for him. So there's that. And like I said, we're waiting on not waiting, curious. When is Hunter Dickinson's decision? I wonder when during the day that's going to happen.
I think he's going to be Kentucky. Just that's where my thoughts are.
It's interesting. And it has to be, not that he's the only player that has ever had the option to choose between programs like that. It happens all the time. But this is a completely different situation. This is a plug-and-play guy. This is not a guy that you think will work. This is a guy you know will work. He's a proven commodity.
I'd say the biggest thing you have to worry about, excuse me, if anything, with Dickinson is his ability to get along with everybody on your team. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. If you want to have him be successful, he's the kind of guy that people have to enjoy being around, or else it may not work the way you want it.
Why would you? But if you're a teammate, why would you not enjoy being around him? I'm pretty certain that what he wants to do is win.
No, that's the thing, though. As long as it's not about him, which I don't know his personality like that, so maybe that's not an issue. But if it's not about him, because that was kind of what made things a little sour with Oscar Tshiebwe in year 2, I feel like, with Kentucky. So especially if he goes there, they have to have, and I'm assuming it will be better than it would be with somebody like Tshiebwe. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. That's the thing for Kentucky. They have a caveat, but I don't think that Tshiebwe is coming back.
Oh, I don't either, especially if Dickinson commits to Kentucky. So,
well, Dickinson's only committing to Kentucky if Tshiebwe does not come back. That's the caveat.
That's what I'm saying. I think if he commits to Kentucky, then Tshiebwe's not coming back. That's what I'm saying. I
thought you meant that. I thought you meant that if Dickinson committed, that was going to make Tshiebwe's decision for him.
No, it's one of the things, like he likely already knows what his decision's going to be either way.
Right.
And if he's told him that, sorry, I just saw a text and it threw off my train of thought. If he knows already through Calipari or other means that Tshiebwe's not coming back, I think you 100% see him commit to Kentucky. If you see him commit elsewhere, expect Tshiebwe to be coming back for UK.
Kenneth asking, what has Hunter accomplished? Doesn't matter what he's accomplished. It's what kind of a player he is. He's an All-American. He's a 3-time All-Big Ten player. It's what you're adding to your team. he can't win. Is he supposed to win by himself? So yeah, I don't. What did Trace Jackson Davis accomplish? You cannot. If that's how you're going to judge guys, then that would change the story on a lot of people. Kentucky and Kansas are certainly not looking at it that way. They're clamoring for him because they know whoever lands him is going to be in front of the other as one of the favorites to win the national championship. Doesn't mean you're going to win it. It takes a little luck along the way as well. But you have to do everything you can to put yourself in that position to have that luck to score that. We need to take a break. We've got more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Hopefully AJ Moye joins us next. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
I tried texting him to make sure he had the link. I didn't hear from him. Have you heard from him?
I didn't text him again, but I just sent a link is in your email. And are you ready?
I'll send it to his phone just in case he has issues with the email.
Oh, man. I tell you what, I hate when we're scrambling around. I feel like, I know you do too, but I don't like it either. Not scrambling. Just don't know if,
I feel like we've been doing it all week though. You know what I mean? And not just today.
Yeah, it's just a wonky week.
Yeah. Do we have anything? Well, I mean, I've only got 30 seconds till we come back, but is there anything special for tomorrow other than who you might find at the track that we got to think about?
Oh, Alec, but we'll be talking basketball recruiting and what's
Well, I mean, other than the usual guests. We can talk about it later. All right, here we go.
Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Thursday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Hope it has been a great week for you. Looks like an absolutely beautiful day out there. Enjoy it. Hope you can get out and just get some of that sunshine. It's not going to be exactly the warmest day of the year, but that's okay. It's getting there. Hoping that AJ Moye joins us this segment. He was recently added to the basketball staff at Valpo. One of two additions that head coach Roger Powell Jr. announced, along with Quentin Garrison. He's the director of basketball ops. The Debo, as they are known. Of course, AJ, standout for Indiana, played on the 2002 national championship team that I saw play down in Atlanta. They came close. Beat Kelvin Sampson in Oklahoma to keep it rolling. And they, unfortunately, ran into Maryland. And what difference would it have made if Indiana would have won that game? How, Indiana catches a lot of flack when, they haven't won a championship since 87, yada, yada, which is true, of course. But what if they won that one in 2002? That changes the narrative for Indiana, I think. While they had not been, you could not say they've been to a Final Four since then. They've been close. They've won 2 Big Ten titles. You've had just some, there was just some mistakes along the way, obviously, and then the dark. Then there was the dark time, and now Indiana is coming out of the dark time, as I will affectionately refer to that from now on. That's a great way to look at that. He was absolutely a huge part of that 2002 greatest picture. One of the 2 greatest sports pictures of all time. I love that picture of him blocking Carlos Boozer, who has 2 sons. There you go. Boom. AJ Moye, 6'4", Carlos Boozer, 6'8". Carlos Boozer, although, has a set of twin boys that are killing it on the undercard as they're heading in to become college players. But AJ has been wanting to get into coaching, wanting to get back into Indiana. He's been out in LA. He training since 2011. He was working with and for Kobe Bryant at the Mamba Academy out there. And of course, after the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant, we all know about that. But I think that things obviously probably changed there. But AJ said Roger and him had been going at it since college when he played at Illinois and he played at Indiana. He could not be happier and more energetic to come back to Indiana for his first college coaching position. I've experienced the love of the game in the Hoosier State. I'm a worker. I'm up at 4:30 every morning. I love working and getting after it. My specialty is skill development. I can't wait to get to Valpo and get started. And I can see him doing that. I mean, he has that block of Carlos Boozer. That took energy. That took effort. That took everything. He's 6'4". So, yeah. A lot of great guys like Charlie Miller that have come out of Indiana. Great trainers. AJ following in that line, but now wanting to be coach. His dream is to coach at Indiana, of course. And yes, it would be great if Indiana was able to have a staff of all former IU people, in theory. But that, I don't think, it's not to say that could never happen, but the likelihood of that ever happening is not very likely. Timing, you have to have those have to be 4 different personalities. You want 4 different personalities in the recruiting world because not everybody's the same. Not everyone's recruited the same. The parents aren't the same. Personalities, man, you have to find personalities that mesh. And that's an art in and of itself. Recruiting is a sales job. Let's see. This is from Jaime Jaquez Jr. rather. Jaime Jaquez Jaquez. I'm not saying his right name right. Jaime Jaquez Jr. from UCLA. The 2023 Pac-12 Player of the Year, second team All-American from UCLA, said, AJ has been a huge part in helping me in my career. He has been my mentor, trainer, friend, and big brother, and a man who believed in me when no one else did. What he can bring to a program is great energy, positive attitude, and an ability to get the best out of his players. And he went on to say more great things. But that's Jaime Jaquez. That's a big-time dude right there. Riley Batten was a 4-year starter at Utah. Todd Abernathy. That name sound familiar? Todd Abernathy is an FAU assistant coach. Need to get him on the show. His dad may ring a bell to you. Replace the D's with an M. Tom Abernathy. Valpo made a great hire in Quentin. Not only is he a great coach and teacher of the game, but he has unique ability to connect with players. So the connections are just everywhere. I mean, this is for the Debo, but this is the son of a former IU great, coaching with Dusty May, a former IU manager at Florida Atlantic. So crazy. But yeah, I need to get Todd on here. That would be a great story. His father was of course, I know a lot of you, if you're an older fan, you know his father, but played for Bob Knight, of course. Was one of the members of the 76 team, undefeated. He's in, if you've ever seen the picture of, it's a great photo of Bob Knight walking down a Philadelphia sidewalk, and he's flanked by the players, kind of like this out to each side of him as they walk. He's in his business, trench coat, and they're in street clothes, carrying their gear in like mesh bags. Nothing fancy. This is your undefeated national championship team just going down the street. But yeah, his dad was a part of the undefeated team. Joined the Hoosiers in 1972. So went to a Final Four on top of that. He was selected by the Los Angeles Lakers in the 76 draft. Played in the NBA. The Lakers, the Warriors, the Pacers before going overseas. But, yeah, that would be great to get both of them on. Lives up in South Bend. Boy, South Bend has been a topic of conversation here a lot lately. I mentioned it earlier with what Micah Shrewsbury's doing up there. There's new life at Notre Dame. But he's bringing back guys in. There's excitement. And that's good. The ACC definitely likes that. No doubt. Logan Imes, the latest, yesterday announcing that he's going to be going to Notre Dame from Zionsville. So Micah Shrewsbury is taking a page out of
finding some good hometown talent, not hometown, but home state talent, and mixing in more, Notre Dame is going to be a markedly better team this year. And that shows you. It's not that Mike Brey was not a good coach. I think he was just tired because Notre Dame's not, basketball is not an easy place to coach, and it became harder. Because of NIL. I don't know what and how Notre Dame is approaching NIL, if at all, because that's not something that they have generally wanted to venture into. But even Notre Dame, I would not imagine, can stay out of it. And they have it because they have a new collective that was announced in April. Brady Quinn, part of that. Of course, he's with Fox on their Big Noon Kickoff crew. But Notre Dame also in the NIL world. So I think that you better look out for Notre Dame. They're going to be a player in the state, which does not help Indiana. It doesn't hurt them because they also recruit so much outside. But, man, you got Purdue. There's so many schools that are recruiting Indiana. Besides Indiana, besides Purdue, besides Notre Dame, Duke, Kentucky, Louisville, Auburn, Michigan State, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, Ohio State. Indiana is just a prime source of talent, and it's going to be interesting over the next couple of years to see what Indiana is able to do in that regard, because there are some high-profile players that will be coming out of this state, very high. There's no other state that has two guys ranked as high in different classes that Indiana does, with Flory Badunga in the 24 class and Jalen Harrelson in the 25 class. Both of those guys have a chance to have the number one spot. I don't think there's another state that has that. And those are not the only guys that there are, but that just gives you an indication. And those that are under him, the players, I mean, that are other good players that are below them. So I think it's going to get crazier, but fun as well. Indiana is going to get, once they get this, they have got to get, I've said this before, everyone says you're not going to get everybody you want. At some point, they need to get the guys that they need to get, period. And be in a position like Kansas is in, where you're adding a Hunter Dickinson and looking to become a favorite to win a national championship. I don't think Indiana is there yet, but they're on the precipice of putting together probably the best, if they can fill these two spots with especially with the two guys that have been mentioned. Mbako visiting tomorrow. We'll talk about that with Alec Bussey when he joins us tomorrow to get you caught up on recruiting and everything that's happening that's gone on during the week and is coming up over the weekend.
1 minute.
Yes, John. And we'll be at the Downs. See what else we can scurry up. Hopefully it'll be just a fun day. Try to get Kirk Haston. Make that a Derby tradition. But I cannot thank everybody enough for joining us on the show today. Matt Taylor, of course, Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, Matt, of course, from the Colts. And you, more importantly, most of all, John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. It's been another fun one, and looking forward to it tomorrow. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Go out and enjoy this beautiful weather.
I hope you can get out. Appreciate you all more than you know. And we'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.